We are outside on the plaza at Fox News headquarters helping kick off Fox Fan Weekend. We're very excited to see our wonderful fans here with us on this beautiful day. Look at them, they're all around us. Shockwaves are rippling across the globe after Great Britain's landmark vote to leave the European Union. Here at home, the Brexit economic tsunami sent the markets tumbling. A few moments ago, the Dow closed down more than 600 points. While some celebrated the UK's historic move, others were less enthusiastic about the tumultuous decision. Shortly after the vote tally was completed, Prime Minister David Cameron made this stunning announcement.
I was absolutely clear about my belief that Britain is stronger, safer and better off inside the European Union. But the British people have made a very clear decision to take a different path. And as such, I think the country requires fresh leadership to take it in this direction.
Earlier, President Obama expressed respect for Britain's decision to leave the European Union, an outcome he had personally campaigned against during a trip to London in April.
I do think that yesterday's vote speaks to the ongoing changes and challenges that are raised by globalization. But while the UK's relationship with the EU will change, one thing that will not change is the special relationship that exists between our two nations. That will endure. The EU will remain one of our indispensable partners. Our NATO alliance will remain a cornerstone of global security.
Well, we'll start with that one, Dana. President Obama in April said he was going to could possibly put Britain at the end of the queue. Now he's singing a different tune.
It was language that was not welcome in Britain, meaning that you'd have to go to the back of the line. That's not how you treat someone in a special relationship. Interestingly, I don't know if you know that Jim Messina, who used to work at the White House and was on Obama's team, was actually the campaign director for the Remain vote in support of Cameron and of Obama's position and of Hillary Clinton's. Obviously, it didn't work. I would like to comment on David Cameron's speech because I thought it was full of grace. And it was the right thing to do. He was gracious in defeat, and it's going to take a while for all of this to sort of sort itself out, not just the markets, but also politically, how that's going to work itself out in the EU. I really take my cues from my husband, who's British, and who had reluctantly come to the conclusion that leaving was the best thing for the UK, and he and I have a Q&A that we did for FoxNews.com that we put up that can explain that position. But I think that ultimately, after I lived there for a while, I know that it was not an easy decision for the country to go through, but I agree it's a big event, but it's not the biggest event. Everything's going to be fine.
Greg, the political fallout from it. Donald Trump is claiming victory, saying, this is the idea that I had a long time ago. And Hillary Clinton, she was in favor of the EU staying together. Will that help either one of their campaigns or hurt it?
A lot of people had never even heard of Brexit a month ago, including Donald Trump. Let me explain to everybody what Brexit is. Basically, the European Union is in sync, and England, Great Britain, is Justin Timberlake. He was just too big for the European Union. It was time to go. This is all about individual control versus central planning. It's like taking the car versus a bus. When you're in a bus, you like the company, but you got to put up with the stops. That's the European Union. England decided to buy a car. It's more costly up front, but you have the freedom to go wherever you want and do whatever you want. It's that simple. There's going to be a period of adjustment. It's like when you break up with somebody. There's going to be you got to fight over, who gets Big Ben? Who gets Big Ben? That's like the wine opener in a relationship. So they're going to fight over little things, but then, it'll cost something. But then, the UK, they'll wait tables, deliver pizzas, but then they'll find another job and a new boyfriend and everything will be great.
And there's always a pub to go to.
Yes.
KG, a lot of people say it was all about immigration. They said the UK wanted sovereign borders. All about the money on Wall Street today. What is it? Some of both?
I think it's a variety of a complexity of factors involved. I think the immigration piece certainly was powerful, especially in light of all the migrants and the refugees coming in. And it's more about having ownership and a sense of nationalism, controlling borders, making those decisions for your country in particular versus more of a globalist approach. And you see some of that going on here in this country. So it's mirroring and echoing some of the sentiment, some of the things that Donald Trump has been talking about. So this might be part of a larger populist movement that we're seeing take shape that could have impact ultimately here on the United States. It's sort of the tipping point.
My good friend Juan here, Nigel Farage was one of the leaders of the Leave exit push.
Donald Trump of Britain.
Okay, well, let's call him that. He's actually saying that President Obama is saying England get to the back of the queue in April was part of the reason there were some votes in favor of exiting. So President Obama can also be blamed for the exit as well.
Wow, I didn't know he was that powerful. But if you want to give him that much credit, I don't think that Obama deserves that much attention from the Europeans or the Brits. But I do think that people who have said that it was going to have tremendous consequence on the economic markets, I guess they were right, because look what happened today, 600 points down in the Dow. You look at the Italian markets, the French markets. It's unbelievable.
Look at Boston market.
There we go. That's where you're getting dinner tonight.
They've doubled the price of turkey legs in just an hour.
So I think it has tremendous impact on our economy. And the question is about, you know,
How?
I'm thinking about the United States, obviously.
Obviously, people don't like uncertainty, and that's why the market's royal.
But you would know that.
But
Exactly.
what has really changed ultimately? Nothing has really changed.
Well, no, I think Janet Yellen, you know, the Federal Reserve chief said this is going to have economic repercussions. I don't think you're going to see any hike in interest rates coming from the Fed in the aftermath of this.
Well, partly that's because our economy is in such a slump.
Well, believe me, we're not as bad as the European economy. Our unemployment's nowhere near what the Europeans have been.
I think Peter had a really good way of explaining it to me. He said, imagine if you're in the United States and all of a sudden Canada, the United States, and Mexico are all one. And the central government is in Mexico City, and the Canadians have and the Mexicans have collectively more votes than you have as the United States. Like, we wouldn't put up with that at all. So it's what started as an economic agreement in 1973 and was a good idea. And then like later in the 80s when that strengthened, that actually helped businesses. But what happened is you got this strangulation of regulation. I'll give you an example. It's kind of one about immigration. Not too long ago, there was a Colombian drug dealer. What do you call it? I don't even know those people. Okay, dealer.
It's
but he wasn't quite a lord. He wasn't quite a lord. He was more like just a dealer. But he got in some trouble. He was a violent guy. He gets 12 years in prison. Only serves 8 for good behavior. When he gets out, the Brits want to send him back to Colombia. They want to deport him. But the European Union, the Council of Human Rights, or whatever it's called, said, no, you're not allowed to do that because he has a British girlfriend, and that would disrupt their lives. Right. So that's why Britain, I think, a lot of it went beyond economics and became like this one world government.
That was a great story.
You know what, Dana?
Dana,
I think it's less like Canada and Mexico and the U.S. are all one government. It's more like what would happen if California, New York, Connecticut, left.
Right.
Said, hey,
No.
we're out.
No, Juan.
No.
No. It's like this. Imagine you're staying in a hotel, right?
Yeah.
You're staying in a hotel, and all of a sudden, the hotel opens up the first floor to all these new people without checking who they are. And some of them, you don't know where they're from. You know what you do? You check out of that hotel and you find a better place. And that's what England is doing. They're moving out of the hotel of the EU.
Is it all the hotel? Is it all immigration?
It's immigration. It's all about immigration.
Because immigration does encompass the economy, and it does encompass terror and safety.
Yeah, because you know, coming together is very important unless you're stamping out someone's identity or their heritage in place of multiculturalism. This is what it's about. People are fearing the death of their past.
But you just don't want other people making those decisions for you. And right now it's become so spread out with the EU and other people making the decision about what's best for your country. It's very limiting. You want to be in charge of your own house.
Yeah.
You want to be the one behind the wheel. You don't want someone else telling what direction you're going to go to, because you might have separate, specific interests that are very different, you know, that are not convergent with another country, and that's what you've been seeing.
So can I ask all four of you this then what's the difference in the United States if a Donald Trump or some other politician says close the borders, stop the immigration from Muslim countries for now? Isn't it the same thing? Isn't he saying close the hotel down until we figure out what's going on?
No, they're saying we want more control over our world. They're not saying we're closing anything down. I think it's just basically autonomy. That's all it is.
The other thing I would say is if I were the Brits, if they were against what President Obama wanted, which was remain, so if you were for leave, I might say to President Obama, one of the reasons that this vote went the way that it did is because of the Syrian refugee crisis.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Why do we have a Syrian refugee crisis? You have to solve that problem at its source, or else it's not going to get solved. And you've had World Refugee Day was just last Saturday, and I think it was like 65 million people are refugees right now. You have to solve problems at their source because people don't want to be refugees. They want to be able to stay home. If our national security is hampered by things that are happening over there, my position is then you should deal with the things over there.
Juan, your thoughts?
Well, I think it's a reaction. I mean, basically, I think this vote was not rational. I think it was about fear, and they have taken a leap. It's as if I did, all right, what this great crowd around us here today at Fox Weekend, let me go crowd surfing. I don't know if people are going to hold me up or going to drop me like a rock. So, you know, that's what I think the British have done.
That might happen too, but that's oversimplifying because it's also, yes, it's about dominance, it's about autonomy, it's about not being submissive to some of the other lesser countries. UK is used to being a superpower, being a shot caller like the United States. They do have a responsibility to look out, you know, for their own in this instance, and you see right now in this country that movement happening as well with a large part of the electorate saying, hey, let's tighten this up.
And don't forget, 28 countries, now 27, can travel freely within the borders, and that is a very scary thing to some people.